Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to a brand new episode of What If Deku Had Intuitive Aptitude Quirk. Izuku always wanted to be special, to have a quirk. And one day he got his wish. Izuku found out he could take quirks. Something Izuku didn't want. Unfortunately, this quirk came with a price. He needed more to have more. So, he became a hunter. A predator. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel. After watching this video, don't forget to shower some appreciation onto the incredible author responsible for this fanfiction. The link is conveniently waiting for you in the description box down below. Before we get into it though, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. I'm sorry. Izuku wept out softly. Suddenly all the voices went quiet. All that Izuku heard was the soft ticking of his clock. And his weeping. This is what his hunger led to. His gifts, his burdens, his regrets. He always wanted a quirk. But not like this. He would stay like that for half an hour. Then he would get up and act like it never happened. Just like always. Today was hopefully going to be a better day. An hour later, Izuku was at a large table in a very sizable kitchen. Right now, he was eating some breakfast his mom had made. He wasn't alone as his mom was sitting across from him eating too. She had just woken up half an hour ago. First thing she did was to check in on Izuku, then did what she did best. Cooking. As both mother and son were eating, a familiar face entered the kitchen. Young Midoriya. Good to see you up, All Might said with a smile. He then turned to Inko. Good morning, Mrs. Midoriya. I hope you slept well. Inko gave a caring smile. I slept wonderfully. Thank you for asking, Mr. Yagi. Since moving in things were awkward at first. Being forced to move in with a total stranger was hard. But eventually they found a way to make it work. The ones who settled in first nicely were All Might and Izuku's mom, as both his mentor and mom began to chat with one another. Izuku just sat there quietly eating, while looking miserable. This morning was rough. Remembering all that stuff was hard. The voices though, they were worse. It sucked. Not being able to tell anyone. But he needed to keep it secret. Until he could figure out why this was happening, not wanting to look too miserable in front of everyone. Izuku grabbed a remote that was nearly and turned on the TV hooked into the kitchen wall. Turns out All Might had a bunch here and there in the mansion. Breaking news! Authorities and pro-heroes were called in this morning at the local college to disperse a demonstration that turned violent. Students and other individuals who are calling themselves the Prey gathered and were demanding Izuku Midoriya aka the Stalker to be immediately released from custody. Wherever he is being held, everyone's attention went to TV as the news report continued. Both All Might and Inko shot Izuku with concerned looks. It has only been a month since the Stalker was apprehended and revealed to be one Izuku Midoriya. And yet Japan and the rest of the world are still feeling the aftermath among other things. Since the Stalker was taken into custody, there has been no word of what has happened to him. No trial or verdicts were ever publicly made, and any contact from his mother, Inko Midoriya, have revealed nothing because Mrs. Midoriya has been taken into protective custody for her own safety. This morning was another indecent of violence as many protesters got violent by defacing public property and assaulting college security and police. Some even going so far as using their quirks with malicious intent. Eventually pro-heroes called and helped disperse the crowd and making arrests. The Prey have made a public response on social media, who are outraged by police, pro-heroes and the justice and court system as a whole. Here's the video now. On the TV it showed an individual facing the camera. He or she was wearing the exact same set of clothes Izuku wore as the Stalker, and was talking in a distorted voice. Today's demonstration was only the beginning. We will not stop until our savior, our hero is released. Izuku Midoriya, the Stalker has shown us the way. We will not stop until all follow the gospel of our cause. We are Prey. Nothing more, nothing less. Our fate is up to the true hero of our time. Not the false idols like All Might or Endeavor. Those to have fallen to our savior have been saved. We demand our savior be released immediately. And the location of the woman who gave birth to him. For we shall give our lives to protect her from the fools who want to hurt our savior. Remember, we are the Prey, and our savior is the almighty hunter. The TV then showed the news report again. The group known as the Prey have gotten only stronger since the Stalker's incarceration. Authorities speculate their reach has spread far to the rest of the world. Copycats have also surfaced. Just yesterday a man was murdered trying to stop a mugging while dressed as the stalker. The man is survived by his wife and 3 dash. The TV was suddenly turned off by All Might, who had just about heard enough. He sighed as he looked over to Izuku. He looked very troubled as his head was lowered. All of that was my fault, wasn't it? Izuku asked timidly as he looked up at his mom and mentor. That guy dying. This crazy group and copycats. It's all because of me. Immediately Inko got up and walked around the table to Izuku. Once there she gave him a reassuring hug. Oh honey, none of this is your fault. It's just, some people aren't good, like me, Izuku said in a low tone, not bothering to look up. Inko was shocked. She then looked lost. She didn't know what to say. Thankfully All Might stepped in. Izuku, you can't undo what you did. You may be guilty, but it's up to you to make up for it, All Might said as he walked over to Izuku. Placing a hand on his shoulder, he smiled. In a 10 months UA will start. There you'll get the chance to make things right, my boy. I'm trying to get you on a recommendation, but Aizawa and a few others are hesitant. Don't worry though. You'll get in. That would have brightened Izuku's mood. But not today. The voices, the memories, and all this bad news. It was getting to him. He needed to be alone. Surprising both his mom and All Might, he got up. I'm gonna do my usual workout. Please come get me when Ms. Todoroki gets here, Izuku stated as he walked past his mom and headed out. Thanks for breakfast, Mom. I'll see you at training, All Might. Be safe out today too. He left after that, leaving Inko and All Might alone. All Might looked down at Inko to see she was hurting. This last month has been hard on her. Not just for Izuku. My son. Sometimes he acts like he isn't my son, Mr. Yagi. I see it when he looks at me, Inko softly said with hurt and worry in her eyes. She looked up at All Might looking ready to cry. His eyes are just like his dad's when he had to leave. So cold and filled with regret. What is happening to my son? She soon started to cry after that. All Might acted on instinct and walked over and hugged her, surprising her. He's hurting. He blames himself for all this. He feels like the whole world is on his shoulders. I know the feeling. But at least he's not alone. He has you, Inko, and me too if that helps. Give him time. If it becomes a problem, we'll talk to him together. Inko looked up at All Might, who kept on giving her that signature smile. He looked and sounded so sure of himself. She couldn't help but feel reassured. With a small smile and faint blush, she hugged All Might back. Thank you, Tashinori. As that was happening, Izuku walked outside. He took a deep breath of the fresh air. It calmed him a bit. That changed, however, when he saw 2 police officers posted by the gates, keeping a close eye on him. With a frown, Izuku sighed a little as he headed off on his morning jog. After that, some weight training in the weight room, then his usual routine. All that until Ms. Todoroki comes for his lessons. This was his usual routine. It wasn't the best, but it was his life. And he had to live with that. He had to live with a lot of things. Meanwhile, somewhere in the city, in a slum somewhere, where criminals and other undesirable people lived or hid. Right now, in a dark alley, 2 low-life criminals were meeting. Why did you call me here? The person asking was an abnormally giant man. His quirk was clearly activated. He had a rough, beastly appearance. He had a horse-like head with brown hair styled into dreadlocks and a beard. He wore a torn and tattered shirt as well as an average pair of jeans with no shoes. His quirk looked to be some kind of gigantification type. Because we both have a score to settle. The other person, if you can call it that, was a huge mass of sludge or mud of some kind. He, at least that's what it sounded like, had a dark, nasty green color with big eyes and sharp teeth. It was likely his quirk was a mutant or transformation type. Either way, he looked intimidating. The stalker is gone. What he did to the boss is over and done. While I wouldn't mind killing that brat or his sweet little mother, the pro heroes are stepping their game up, the giant stated with a sneer. Whatever you have planned will probably get us caught or worse. Sludge snorted as he oozed closer to the giant. It's not about our old boss, fool. Saito had it coming. No, what I'm talking about is making a statement. For all those idiots who think that the stalker is untouchable. Sludge explained, showing his teeth. You and me sneak into town, grab some hostages and give some demands. This caught the giant's interest. What do you mean demands? Heh. Sludge chuckled. We demand a fair sum of money, of course. A way out of this stupid country. And the stalker himself. Or his mother. Either one would settle nicely. What about the cops and pro heroes? They'll be on us just like that, the giant said, snapping his fingers. What are we gonna do then? Sludge just kept smiling. We'll grab some brats and maybe some random bitch or two. Cops won't do a thing and the pros won't either. Risking hostages will ruin their images they all so care about. Sludge explained. If things go south, we make a quick escape and kill the hostages. Besides, it's not like All Might the rest of those assholes are still hanging around. Trust me, this plan will go without a hitch. It sounded like a good plan. Besides, the giant wanted some quick cash. This seemed like a good way. Also, getting some payback wouldn't be so bad either. Fine. When do we start? An evil grin never left Sludge's face. Today, this afternoon, a few hours with Izuku. Izuku? Izuku? Izuku, are you paying attention? Izuku looked forward with a small gasp. A moment ago, he was dozing off in his chair. He looked down on his desk to see some schoolwork he finished working on, and college-level psychology book, and a very interesting book by the name of Activating Evolution by Chandra Suresh, the father of Mohinder Suresh, the world's oldest and best geneticist today. He practically wrote everything there is about quirks. All the notebooks he wrote were because of him. Izuku looked up to see his tutor standing over him with a worried look. Are you okay? Fuyumi Todoroki asked, concerned. It's been a month since Ms. Todoroki became his home tutor. A very secret and dangerous job. Not from him, but from others who would want nothing more than to find the whereabouts of him and his mother. Izuku was hesitant to get a tutor, especially since the whole world knew who he was. But All Might and the authorities told him to go for it. If he wanted a chance to join UA and become a hero, after a week or two of looking and background checking, they finally found someone who was willing to tutor him. Fuyumi Todoroki, daughter of Enji Todoroki aka the number 2 hero Endeavor. From what Izuku heard, Endeavor wasn't happy hearing his daughter was tutoring him. The guy hated his guts. Why? Well, maybe making his possible illegitimate son a vegetable had something to do with it. Anyways, his first meeting with Fuyumi was awkward. Eventually, though, Izuku came to like Fuyumi. She also taken a shine to him as well. After tutoring him and talking to him, she knew he was just a very unlucky and misunderstood kid. Right now, he and Fuyumi were in the study. Turns out All Might had two. Both he rarely used. Eventually it was decided this one would be where he would take his lessons from now on. Thankfully, he was able to continue where he left off from his education. At the pace he's going, he should be able to join UA in not time. That's what he hoped at least. I am fine, Ms. Todoroki. Izuku stammered with an embarrassed blush. Just thinking about something. This got a relieved smile from Fuyumi, causing Izuku to blush even more. While he wouldn't openly admit it, he found Fuyumi very attractive. She was also very caring and smart too. That's good. You've been doing great. You finished your assignment so fast. I shouldn't be surprised considering it's you, of course, Fuyumi said, giving Izuku a small pat on the head, making him smile nervously and blush even more. She suddenly noticed the books Izuku had. Wow, those are college-level books, Izuku. Fuyumi was surprised by what they read. I didn't know you were interested in psychology and activating evolution. My grandparents said that book was once a joke. Now it's the world's 3rd best-selling book. College students and inspiring geneticists read that stuff religiously. Izuku was silent as he tried to figure out what to say. He's been looking deep in psychology to see if it can help with his problem. The book Activating Evolution was something he was reading recently so he could understand his quirks better. His main one specifically. Yeah, I'm just interested in a lot of things. Ms. Todoroki. Izuku lied, giving out a sheepish smile. Just keeping my options open if UA doesn't pan out. That's good to hear, Izuku, Fuyumi said. Ms. Todoroki? Can I ask you a question? Of course, Izuku, he stammered at first, trying to ask his question but couldn't. Finally, a few moments later, he grew the courage. Why did you take this job, knowing full well what kind of person I am? Izuku asked, giving Fuyumi a sad look. I mean, I'm not a good person. People are either afraid of me or they hate me. Not that I'd blame them. His head dropped a little as he remembered this morning. Some even think I'm some sort of hero or savior. That crazy group and those copycats. Every terrible thing that happens, I can't help but feel like it's my fault. Izuku confessed, still feeling down. How can a good and kind person like yourself stand me? Things grew very quiet after that. Izuku sat there looking like the whole world was after him, while Fuyumi couldn't help but feel sorry for him. With a small smile, she placed a caring hand on his head, making him look up with a surprised expression and faint blush. Oh, Izuku, I might have been nervous to tutor you at first, but after meeting and getting to know you, I knew you were just a misunderstood boy who's had a rough time. You are a smart and sweet kid. Not some villain or monster. Don't let what others think or do get you down. It's no one's fault but their own. So please, stop looking so down and show me that smile of yours. There were a lot of things Izuku was expecting. But not this. To see Fuyumi smiling down at him. That's when he remembered All Might and his mom. They didn't hate or fear him. If a person like Fuyumi could think that way about him, maybe he had a chance to change how people saw him. Thank you, Ms. Todoroki. Izuku thanked with a smile as he rose his head up. He got a smile and nod from Fuyumi. Suddenly she looked at the nearest clock and that smile dropped slightly. Well, looks like our session is over for today, Izuku. You did awesome today. Keep this up and Yui won't know what hit them. Fuyumi stated happily as she began to gather all her stuff and Izuku's finished work. You know, my little brother is going to UA too. I just know that both of you will make us proud. Oh, that's cool. What's your brother like? That's when Fuyumi's mood dropped a little. Her brother was a hard and distant person. Could be considered cold to many. Just like their father. Even though he would never ever admit it. Shoto acted more like their father. He could sometimes appear aloof. Keeps to himself mostly. Even around me. But it's just that he's had a rough start. Just like you. Fuyumi explained with a sad smile. If you do get to meet him or end up in the same class with him, can you try and be his friend? Shoto might be cold at first but can try? Please? Izuku was surprised. He also couldn't say no to a face like that. Blushing like a fool again, he nervously smiled and nodded. Sure, Ms. Todoroki, Izuku said smiling. I'll try. Fuyumi was so happy to hear that. She gave Izuku a small hug, which quickly turned him into a blushing and muttering fool. Thank you, Izuku, Fuyumi said as she stopped hugging him. She then took a look at the clock and sighed. My train is almost here. Better leave before I miss it. I'm proud of you, Izuku. We'll pick up where we left off tomorrow. So try to keep a clear mind and not to worry so much. Okay? Our hero didn't say a word. He just nodded while trying not to look weird as he was still flustered. Good, Fuyumi said. See you tomorrow, Izuku. Tell your mom I said bye. She headed out of the room. Soon it was just Izuku, hearing the front door close. He took a deep breath and sighed in relief. Man, I am such a weirdo. Izuku mumbled to himself bitterly. Hope Fuyumi didn't get weirded out. Suddenly Izuku realized what he said. I mean Ms. Todoroki! Izuku exclaimed in realization and embarrassment. After that Izuku slammed his head on his desk. With another sigh he frowned. Fuyumi Todoroki. She was kind and smart woman. One of the few who didn't fear or hate him. It made him happy to hear those caring words from earlier. Yet he still felt regret. This time it was about Ms. Todoroki. What would she think of him if she knew what he did to Kokai, the original owner of his fire quirk, Infernal Torch? There was a very good chance he was her brother. At least from what he's gathered. How Endeavor acted all but confirmed it. Kokai was a very disturbed person. He lost a loved one and went on a rampage and became something else. A villain. He probably didn't deserve what Izuku did to him. He was once a good person. Maybe with help he could have been one again. What am I going to tell her if she asks? Izuku asked himself with a frown. He didn't want to think about the look she would give him if he told her. Would she change her mind about me? Maybe I am a monster? There he was again. Feeling sorry for himself. Being alone never made him feel good. Not at all. Wanting to do something else rather than sulk. He grabbed his books and put them away. But before doing so he turned activating evolution around and saw a picture of Chandra Suresh. If you knew Quirks were coming, did you know a person like me would exist? Silence, that's all he got. With a small frown he put the book away and headed to outside. Usually All Might would join him, helping him to control and use his quirks better. But he was in Tokyo. Some big pro meeting or something. So it was just him for today. His mom was probably planning dinner or watching TV. There were only so little things she could do. Once outside he took a look around and saw the guards at their post. Man, you took so freaking long in there. Was bored just sitting here. Izuku immediately jumped and exclaimed in surprise. He looked to see who startled him and was surprised to see who it was. It was Mount Lady. With a bored and mildly annoyed expression, the pro hero walked over to Izuku and stared down at him. She was so close that her breasts were inches away from his face. Thankfully, he was doing his best to look up at her. Unfortunately, he was blushing and blubbering a little. Geez, I thought babysitting the stalker would be exciting. But you've been a bit of a letdown, Izuku. Mount Lady complained childishly as she set a mock glare at Izuku. Come on. Can't you at least try to do something exciting? Since being placed in All Might's custody, Izuku had to be watched by a pro hero 24/7. Thankfully, it was All Might who watched him most of the day, but there were times he had to leave for hero business or other such things. So, when that happens, a pro hero is called to watch over him. A total of 3 heroes have watched over him, not including All Might. Death Arms watched from time to time. Those were pretty awkward. Maybe it had something to do with breaking Kamui Wood's arm. He heard they were pretty close. But Death Arms was a nice enough guy. One bad thing about him, he was a smoker. Izuku remembered when his mom caught him smoking around him. Boy, did she give him a talking. Izuku's never seen a pro hero so scared before in his life. Another person was Blue Genist, which was shocking. Apparently he only did it to get red on Izuku. He was curious about him and his quirks. They talked and gotten to know each other very well. There was one time the fiber hero wanted to give him a haircut. Thankfully All Might and his mom talked him out of it. Unfortunately, Blue Genist could only watch over Izuku rarely. Being in the top 5, it was understandable. Still, it was nice when he visited. The last person who watched him and was the most frequent was Mount Lady. Their first proper meeting was unexpected. You would think Mount Lady would be scared of him, at least hate him after their first meeting. He did try to take her quirk, but that wasn't the case. When they met again, she seemed pretty laid back. A bit annoyed if anything. Watching over Japan's most infamous vigilante, you think she'd take things a bit seriously. Nope, she even teased or startled Izuku, try and get a rise out of him from time to time. Mount Lady was a very eccentric person. When she spent time with Izuku, she acted pretty normal, if not a bit annoyed or laid back. Still, she was a good person. Treated Izuku a bit strangely, which was from teasing to borderline flirting. Either way, it was just to mess with Izuku, probably pay back for ruining her image after taking her down. Hi Mount Lady, Izuku greeted while stammering. Sorry for making you wait. The poor guy began to bow, causing Mount Lady to sigh. Forget about it. You know the routine. You train and I watch, Mount Lady stated as she began to walk where the training area was, which was in the back of the mansion. Don't do anything nuts, or I'll have to squish you. Then I'll have your mom and All Might on my ass. Yep, very eccentric. Izuku shook his head lightly and followed Mount Lady, both completely unaware of what's going to happen very soon. Meanwhile, in Tatooine's shopping district, things were bustling downtown. Since Izuku's arrest, things have gotten pretty calm in the city. People weren't afraid to leave their homes anymore. Unfortunately, that also meant low lives and villains were beginning to come back. Many were happy that Izuku was gone, save for a couple. Speaking of which, one was currently walking back home from school, Katsuki Bikugo, Izuku's former best friend. It's been a month since his fight with Izuku, and he's changed. Before getting his ass handed to Izuku, Katsuki used to think he was top dog. Everyone at school and the neighborhood knew that. The kid with a powerful quirk going to hit it big when he gets older. Trouble was that he knew that too. He was arrogant and strong, and he loved that. Unfortunately for him, that all changed when he woke up in the hospital after fighting Izuku, a fight he lost. After getting out of the hospital, people looked at him differently. Word got out he was once friends with Izuku. Many grew wary of him from then on. It only got worse for him when people found out he confronted Izuku and lost. Now people only saw him as the guy who used to be friends with the stalker, and the guy who couldn't beat him. For Katsuki, that pissed him off more than anything. He could care less what people thought about him. He didn't give a shit about friends either. Right now all he cared about was getting stronger, so one day he could find Izuku again and prove that he's nothing but a pebble in his path. Deku, wherever the hell you're hiding, I will find you, Katsuki thought bitterly with a scowl. I promise you that. While Katsuki was walking him, he failed to notice 3 people were heading in the same direction as him. One was Fuyumi, who was heading to the train station. This was a shortcut. The other 2 were quite strange. Big sis, can we stop at the park before we head back home? A little girl asked with a tadpole-like appearance. She was holding hands with a girl who sounded and looked to be her sister. She was a short girl with a frog-like appearance. She had long, dark sea-green hair which were tied in a bow on her back. Her eyes were wide with pure black irises and distinctive lower eyelashes. Like a frog, she had a wide mouth. We'll see, Satsuki. You know how mom gets when we don't head straight home. Tsuyu Ajiri told with a little ribbit. She looked down to see her sisters looking down sadly. I'm sorry, Satsuki, but mom is still jumpy after that run-in she had with the stalker. You understand, right? Satsuki didn't say a thing, she only nodded. On the night the stalker was arrested, he unknowingly attacked their mother. Something that weighed her mind. Since then, Tsuyu has been pushing herself more so she could join UA and get accepted. So nothing like that would ever happen to anyone ever again. These 4 people have been affected by Izuku. In more ways than one. Now, they were going to be affected again by what Izuku did, as all 4 people walked in the same direction, completely unaware of each other. Like many around them, they failed to notice a large blob of sludge and a giant of a man on the rooftop looking down at them. Those 4 will do nicely, with an evil glint in their eyes. Both jumped down, heading straight for their targets. Before anyone noticed, it was too late. With Izuku. Izuku was using terraform and was punching a giant log. His breathing was heavy, but he kept up his attack. As his stone hands punched the log over and over, small pieces fell to the ground. Mount Lady was looked bored, sitting under a tree with her phone out, taking an eye off occasionally to look at Izuku. The guards around the mansion were at their posts, either keeping watch or slacking off. This was normal routine. This was the only few times Izuku got to use his quirks. The ankle monitor he had would immediately warn the authorities if he was using his quirks without authorization. Thankfully, he had Mount Lady here. If she didn't check in, the SWAT team would be here in no time. A few minutes of punching the log, Izuku stopped. His stone skin quickly disappeared. Suddenly his arms turned into metal, then like something out of a movie. They became long and thin, turning into blades. With a yell, Izuku began to cut the log like it was nothing. A few swipes later, Izuku stopped and deactivated his Iron Make quirk. Pieces and splinters fell to the ground shortly after that. A small smile appeared on Izuku's face. Finally, All Might is going to be so happy. I cut that log pretty quick, Izuku said to himself as wiped any sweat off his forehead. Controlling Iron Make is getting a lot easier. Suddenly, before he could say anything further, a faint explosion was heard in the distance. Izuku gasped in shock as he looked where it came from. Mount Lady got up in shock as she saw smoke where the explosion came from. It was where Tatooine shopping district was. Many of the guards looked too, wondering what was going on. Izuku, come inside quick! Izuku and Mount Lady looked to see Inko outside waving at them to follow, a look of worry on her face. She then ran back inside. In no time, both Izuku and Mount Lady followed. Once inside, they followed Inko into the living room, where the flat-screen TV was on. A news report was showing what was wrong. Breaking news! 2 villains are currently attacking the Tatooine shopping district. The 2 villains appeared out of nowhere and are holding 4 people hostage. 3 of them children. Police and pro-heroes are on the scene along with one of our own. Wait. I'm getting new information. It appears the villains are making demands. Our reporter on the scene is taking us live. The TV showed what was happening. The whole shopping district was in flames. People screaming in terror. Police and pro-heroes trying to make sure everyone was safe. In the middle of all the chaos showed the giant and Sludge, both of them holding hostages. The giant had Tsuyu and Satsuki in one hand and Fuyumi in the other. The little girl was crying while Tsuyu and Fuyumi were struggling. Both couldn't use their quirks because if they did, he would probably hurt them or kill them. Sludge had Katsuki struggling to get free as he was stuck inside his gooey body. It looked like when Katsuki would use his quirk, Sludge would take control and redirect it somewhere else, making more flames and destroying anything nearby. With an evil smile, Sludge looked at the camera. Our demands are simple. A 100 million in cash and an escape route with no cops or heroes. But what we want most of all is the stalker or his mom. We know the cops have them somewhere. If our demands aren't met in 30 minutes, we start killing hostages. Starting with the brat. If any cops or heroes try anything funny, we start the killing early. Everyone in the room was shocked. No one said a word. A look of horror was on Izuku's face. Kachan, Fuyumi and those 2 girls were in danger. Because of him, Izuku dropped down to his knees as he still couldn't believe it. His mother rushed to his side while Mount Lady didn't know what to do. Suddenly her phone went off. She was getting a text. She looked down to see it was from All Might. It read the following. Endeavor and I are on the way now. Watch Midoriya. We'll handle this. Make sure Midoriya doesn't do something he'll regret. Mount Lady was conflicted. She wanted to head out to help, but she was being ordered not to. With a bitter sigh and expression, she put her phone away. All she could do is watch Izuku. She looked down to see Izuku still freaking out. Izuku, please say something. Inko begged, trying to get her son to say anything. Her son stayed silent. It's like time stopped for Izuku. His eyes were glued to the TV. All it showed was the hostage situation. He saw that little girl crying in fear. Ms. Todoroki looking afraid just like that other girl. Kachan trying to break free but failing. Even he looked afraid. All of them were in danger, because of him. It's my fault, all of it. Inko and Mount Lady looked down at Izuku with concern and pity. Inko did what felt right and hugged her son. Mount Lady looked away in shame. With all might and endeavor, Japan's two top heroes were making their way to Musutafu as fast as they could. All Might was in his muscle form, using all his speed and strength jumping towards the danger. Endeavor was close behind, using his flames to speed him up and propel him in the air. When Endeavor got word of the situation, he shrugged it off, wanting to let some other heroes do something about it. But when he heard that his daughter was among the hostages, he quickly acted. With a determined expression, he bolted out of the pro-hero meeting and headed towards the scene. All Might went after him. It involving Izuku, he felt obligated. He also couldn't let those people be in danger either. I told Mount Lady the situation. All Might yelled to Endeavor. In case Izuku does something crazy. Don't worry, Enji. We'll save your daughter and those kids. Endeavor didn't say a word. He only growled and hastened his speed, causing All Might to do the same. He'd be damned if he was going to lose another one of his children. Both heroes were out of city limits, and were going as fast as they could. Though even at this speed they won't make in time. Back with Izuku. 10 minutes have passed. However, it felt longer for Izuku. He felt so helpless, seeing those people in danger because of him. The police and pro-heroes couldn't do a thing. Not if they wanted to risk Kachan and the others. Those villains were serious. They'll kill everyone if their demands aren't met. Izuku hated this. He was lost. What could he do? That's when he realized something. He could do something. They wanted him. Well, they're going to get him. He knew it was crazy, and he'd be risking everything that All Might gave him. But he couldn't stand by and let this happen. It isn't what All Might taught him. He knew he'd regret this, but it didn't matter. With a pained expression, he got up, causing his mom to let go and get up too. Mount Lady looked over to them, wondering what was happening. Izuku? Honey, what's wrong? Inko asked, very concerned. A sad and regretful smile filled Izuku's face as he looked down at his mom. His mother, who still loved him and worried for his well-being. Even after all this. The main reason why he became the stalker was to protect her. Now, Kachan and the others needed protecting. I love you, Mom. Izuku stated proudly as he kissed her forehead. Before she could say or do anything, Izuku activated his toxic haze quirk. He blew the haze right onto her face. She immediately went unconscious. He caught her before she hit the ground and gently placed her on the couch. Mount Lady, seeing what was happening, tried to use her quirk, even though they were indoors, but was stopped when Izuku used his pacify. I am sorry, but I have to do this, Izuku sadly said with a frown. He then lifted Mount Lady in the air and brought her closer to him. She of course struggled but couldn't break free. If something happens to me, tell everyone I'm sorry and thank you for giving me a second chance. Also, thank you, Mount Lady, for not seeing me like a monster. Damn it! Izuku, don't do this! Mount Lady yelled out, still struggling to get free. Izuku smiled sadly and brought her so close to him their faces were inches apart. He then deactivated Pacify and blew his toxic haze onto her. Before Mount Lady could do a thing, she went limp and fell to the ground. Fortunately, Izuku caught her and placed her next to his mom. Seeing them both knocked, Izuku shook his head sadly. This was the only way. With a worried but determined look, Izuku ran upstairs, heading for his room. Once there, he went to the closest and saw what he needed. His stalker outfit, at least part of one. He had a gray new trench coat and a new baseball cap. That's it, better than nothing, Izuku mumbled as he grabbed the coat and cap. After getting them on, he sighed. He never thought he looked like this again. Suddenly, Izuku heard a big commotion from downstairs. Like a door was just busted down. He then realized something. His ankle bracket. It told the people monitoring it if he was using his quirks without permission. And since he knocked out Mount Lady, she couldn't check in. Oh, the mansion was surrounded by at least 5 cops. 2 were inside the mansion right now. All of them had their guns out. They got word Izuku used 1 or 2 of his quirks inside, which was very strange. They tried to get in contact with Mount Lady but got nothing when they called her phone, so they expected the worst. They also called in backup, but everything was being sent to the hostage situation. I knew he was going to crack, one cop said to another. Before the other cop could say a word, a loud crash was heard. Crash. They all looked to see Izuku jumping out of his room's window. He then landed safely on the ground and looked at the cops. With a nervous smile he waved. Then used his high vault. He jumped over the mansion's large fence like it was nothing. Before anyone could do anything like shoot, Izuku was gone, heading straight where the smoke was. Where Ms. Todoroki, Kachan and those girls were. And those villains. This is a bad idea, Izuku told himself a little while later at the hostage situation. It's been 15 minutes or less. And the giant and Sludge were getting antsy. So were the police and pro-heroes on the scene. A huge crowd had gathered and was watching the situation unfold with a news crew there too. Tons of police from the low-beat cop to SWAT were here. They, along with the pro-heroes, made a perimeter around the district. If these villains tried to escape, they were not getting away. The pro-heroes that were present wanted to end this here and now, Death Arms being one of them. But they couldn't do a thing, not if wanted to risk the hostages. They were told to wait because All Might and Endeavor were on the way. If anyone could end this hostage situation quickly and safely, they could. The question was though, could they get here in time? We got 5 minutes left or less. We better think of something, Death Arms said to the SWAT commander. All Might and Endeavor could be 10 or 20 minutes away. If we don't do anything quick, people are going to die. The commander stood there thinking for a while. Finally he nodded. What's taking so long? The giant yelled out, making Satsuki cry again. He growled and glared at the little frog girl. Shut it! Leave her alone! Tsuyu yelled out. She's just a kid, leave her alone. Fuyumi yelled out too. You shut it too before I kill all of you. The giant turned to his partner, glaring at him. This isn't working. I say we kill one and show them we mean business. The giant yelled, making Sludge roll his eyes. Screw you. I'm offing the brat and her sister. Lifting his hand holding both Tsuyu and her sister, he grinned wildly. Everyone looked in horror as it looked like the giant was going to squeeze the life out of them. The police and pro-heroes were about to act. But before anyone could do anything, a sudden voice was heard. Let them go! The villains and everyone looked up to see someone high in the air. They saw a figure in the sunlight and was heading straight down towards the giant. What the foo dash! The big dumb brute didn't finish as the figure reached him and gave him a powerful punch to the face. The giant was sent falling to the ground and lost his grip on his hostages. As for Yumi, Tsuyu and her sister were falling, they were suddenly lifted back in the air by an unseen force. The figure had his hands out. Before the girls knew what was going on, they floated over to the pro-heroes and cops, who quickly caught them all when the unseen force let them go. Everyone was silent. The giant looked pissed as he began to get up. All eyes were on the mysterious figure. Finally, many started to recognize who it was. I don't believe it! Death Arms whispered out in shock as he put Fuyumi safely on the ground on her feet. Dumb kid! Fuyumi was shocked just as everyone else. Izuku! There stood Izuku, aka the Stalker. He wasn't wearing his original outfit, but everyone knew it was him. His face shined brightly in the light as he glared at the giant and Sludge. If you want me, here I am! Izuku yelled out. No could believe it. The Stalker was here. The last person anyone expected to save the day. But there he was, facing down two big bad villains. Sludge was still in shock, so was Katsuki as he stopped struggling to look at Izuku. The giant was the first to shake of his shock. You're dead! The giant yelled in anger as he began to charge at Izuku. Wait, you idiot! Sludge called out, trying to stop his partner. The cash isn't here. But the giant didn't listen. He saw the Stalker and all he wanted to do was kill him. Izuku, seeing the big brute charging at him, freaked him out a little. But he kept his cool. Wasn't the first time he faced a big, intimidating enemy. Probably won't be the last. Activating Terra form, he charged as well. Raising his fist as he got closer, the giant grinned smugly. Izuku knew the big villain was underestimating him, so he would use that against him. As both were about to meet, Izuku did something unexpected. For a few seconds, Izuku quickly deactivated his Terra form and used his main quirk, trying to find a weak spot to attack. Finally, after a few seconds of analyzing, he found it. With a focused look, Izuku stopped using his main and quirk and activated Iron Make, both his arms turning into metal. Before the giant could get up and try to attack, Izuku ran up to him. Using both of his arms, he delivered a powerful double punch to the villain's right upper abdomen. Many in the crowd thought Izuku was crazy for not going for the head or legs again. They were in shock to see the big man coughed up like he got hit by a truck. The giant's eyes went white and his mind went blank. A few seconds later, he dropped to the floor, completely knocked out. Everyone was silent. Completely silent. Again, no one could believe what just happened. 3 hits, that's all it took. The first was to make the giant let go of his hostages. The second was to bring him down to his knees. The final blow to completely knock him out. It was nuts. Even a hero like Death Arms wouldn't be able to do that in a few hits. Liver shot. Izuku mumbled out loud enough for some to hear. A normal liver shot can incapacitate a normal person. The giant wasn't like a normal person. When judging his size with his quirk, Izuku knew he would have to use more force. That's why he used Iron Make and did a double punch. Though from what he saw he probably overdid it. That guy is going to need a hospital, Izuku said out loud as few heard unknowingly to him. Liver injuries aren't good. Sludge couldn't believe it. The giant was taken out so fast. That guy could give 3 pro heroes a fight if he had to. And he was taken out in 3 shots. And then no way! Sludge shrieked as he backed up a little, with Katsuki still stuck in his muddy body. He also couldn't believe what he just saw either. How did you do that? Izuku didn't say a word as he sent Sludge a glare, making him flinch in fear. I'm only going to say this once. Let KCHN go, Izuku demanded as he walked a bit closer to the Sludge villain. Or you'll end up worse than your friend. Now very afraid, Sludge began to realize he was screwed, seeing as the police and heroes had him surrounded. The stalker showing up and taking out his partner like it was nothing, while giving him that scary-ass glare. It was safe to say he was out of options. Still, not wanting to go down easy, the huge blob of sludge yelled out and charged at Izuku, ready to forcibly use Katsuki's quirk. I'm not going down until I kill you, you son of dash. Just as Sludge was going to finish that sentence, a sudden flash appeared out of nowhere and 2 famous words were yelled out. Detroit Smash! A huge fist punched Sludge so hard that he exploded. Thankfully, before that happened, a hand pulled Katsuki out of Sludge's body. Bits of goo and sludge went everywhere. It was highly doubtful Sludge was dead, though he wasn't going to be up and about for a while. After that powerful attack, it sent a huge shock wave. It was so powerful Izuku had to go into his Terra form to not be sent flying. It also put all the flames out. Then something even more crazy happened. It started to rain. As the rain started to gently fell, the one who defeated Sludge gently put Katsuki on the ground. Poor guy was too tired to do anything. I should have known you'd do something reckless, young Midoriya. Izuku looked over to see his teacher and hero All Might smiling down at him. He looked a bit out of breath. Maybe because his time was almost up, or rushing over here non-stop did it. Either way, he was here. The crowd and everyone was silent again. Then, like out of a movie, everyone began to cheer. The bad guys lost and everyone was saved. All Might kept on smiling as he lifted his fist in the air, making many cheer harder. After that, All Might looked down at Izuku, who looked very nervous. He knew he was in trouble. He just didn't know how bad. With a sigh and regretful look, Izuku walked up to All Might, looking up at the man who risked everything to give him a second chance. I know you're mad, but I couldn't just sit by and let this happen, Izuku stated. I'm sorry that I failed you. That I failed all of you. Our hero looked ready to cry. The last thing he wanted to do was to disappoint his mentor and idol. Oh, how he knew so little. Suddenly something very unexpected happened. All Might, still smiling, wrapped one arm around Izuku and brought him into a small hug, shocking everyone, especially Izuku. You did what I would have done. I might be a bit annoyed you did this without permission, but you haven't failed me or anyone. You saved those girls and Fuyumi, All Might softly said, giving Izuku a caring look. That takes a true hero, Izuku. I'm proud of you. Izuku covered his face in All Might's chest, trying to hide his tears. All Might shook his head and chuckled. He then looked to the crowd, police and heroes, many confused and still shocked what was going on. He frowned a little. Many of them were still afraid or hated Izuku, even after this. The thought of that angered All Might. Suddenly he came up with an idea to deal with that. The big shots weren't going to like this and he might regret it. But he thought, to hell with it. With a big smile, All Might raised Izuku's arm in the air, confusing many and Izuku. He then made Izuku face the crowd and cameras that were probably out. Lucky for him, the cap hit his face bit so no one saw his tears. I want to thank all the heroes and police for doing their jobs. But most of all, I want to thank my student and successor, All Might proclaimed proudly, still smiling. I am proud to call him these things. Let me introduce to you all to Izuku Midoriya. If anyone wasn't shocked, they were now. Things once again grew quiet. This time it seemed like the whole city, no, the whole country was quiet. Many couldn't believe it. The stalker was the student and successor of All Might. Izuku stood there blinking for a good minute. He then began to realize what was happening. A huge look of shock and horror appeared on his face. What? All Might kept smiling, though his mind was preoccupied with something. Izuku rushed in and took out that big villain all by himself. If he could that with just his quirks. He wondered what would happen if he had one for all. I'll talk to him later. Right now to deal with all this. While that was happening, Endeavor was on top of a building. No one seemed to notice him, and that's what he wanted. He looked for his daughter. When he found her safe and sound, he sighed in relief. Even though he was distant and never really interacted with his family, his focus only on getting his youngest stronger. He cared for his family. He was glad for Yumi was safe. The number 2 hero frowned as he looked down at All Might and Izuku. He shook his head and huffed. You idiot! You just made everything more difficult. If they only knew. Meanwhile in Japan, at a skyscraper, a building that was owned by Yamagato Industries, in a very large office. Most definitely the CEO's office. A large TV was on and someone was watching the news while sitting on their chair behind their huge desk. This person saw and heard everything. From the beginning to shocking ending, the person sighed. It appears Mrs. Petrelli was wrong, the person said to himself as he got up from his seat. He walked over to a display that held a magnificent katana. I trust Nana's student. The boy isn't like his father. In fact, I believe he is something more. The person walked back to his desk, pushing a button that called his assistant. A small beep later, a female voice rang out. Yes, Mr. Nakamura? Cancel any plans or appointments I have this month. Of course, Mr. Nakamura. Will that be all? Yes, thank you. Another beep and everything was silent. The man got up and walked over to the large window in his office. The man was old, but not that old. He had gray hair with a bit of black here and there, with kind and round face. He had glasses that covered his jet black eyes. He was smiling faintly as he looked outside. He knew things were changing. Whether they were good or bad he couldn't tell. He was old, older than most, and he seen things many wouldn't believe. Being able to time travel will do that to anyone. Maybe I should call Peter. Have his input. Things are pretty calm in America for him to visit. Mr. Nakamura softy said with a smile. Maybe I should visit Toshinori and his student. See if the young man has what it takes. Things were indeed changing. Meanwhile in some slum apartment, in a run-down and sketchy apartment complex, a person was slowly dying in one apartment from multiple stab wounds and blood loss. They were lying on the living room floor with the TV on, which showed All Might and Izuku. Wow, you spilled so much blood! A feminine and sweetly voice called out. It's got me all hot and bothered. A girl suddenly appeared over the dying person. The girl was a relatively petite girl with dirt blonde hair, which she stylized into messy styled buns on both sides of her head. She also sported straight bangs, cut in an uneven Heim cut-like style with 2 stray strands of hair on each side of her face. Her eyes were yellow and somewhat squinted, with vertically slit-like pupils, and she also had some sharp canine teeth. She was holding a very bloody knife. With an all-too-sweet yet sadistic smile, she stopped looking at her victim, because she looked at the TV and her smile got bigger. A blush appeared on her face as she couldn't stop looking at Izuku. I'm so glad you're okay, Mr. Stalker. I want to meet you so badly, the girl said with a love-struck smile and glint in her eyes. She brought the knife close to her chest and held it tightly. I'm following your example and taking out the bad guys. When we meet, I hope you'll accept me, so I can see you finally covered in blood. This girl wasn't the only one happy to see Izuku not in prison somewhere. The fanatic group The Prey were ecstatic their hero was out. Many who believed in the Stalker's type of justice were happy too, even though Izuku never believed in such justice. What he did was something he was forced to do, to protect his mom and other innocent people from himself. These people didn't know that. All they saw was a person brave enough to go against the established order of things. That's all they cared about. Someone who was an outcast like them, whether Izuku liked it or not. He changed the world. For better or worse. Many would never stop seeing him as a vigilante. A hero that believed in their own justice, their own convictions, somewhere in Japan. Speaking of which, a certain person was watching the TV like everyone else. This person was a man with a battle-hardened face. A very intimidating and muscular man, who had black hair, and that was in a messy fashion. His face was mostly flat for some odd reason, like he didn't have a nose, and his eyes were blood red. The man sported a dark combat suit, plated with metal armor across his body that holstered his weapons, which were mostly knives. His torso was sleeveless, and had his arms wrapped in bandages. He also wore long black wristbands and a watch on his left arm. His knees were protected with metal pads and he wore black, steel boots with sharp spikes. He also wore a blood-red scarf and matching headband, as well as some tattered cloth he wore around his face like a mask. His steely gaze was on the TV as he cleaned his weapon, which was a worn and damaged katana. "Looks like you're still around, Stalker," the man whispered. "My quest hasn't even begun yet and things are already changing. You have changed the world. Many see you as a hero while others see a vigilante or villain. What I see is a brave young man challenging the notion of what a hero really is." Smiling wildly, the man stood up and placed his sword away. "You being a student and successor of All Might shows me that my ideal world may come true. Until then, I will show the world the fakes and glory hounds that are called heroes. I won't stop until my ideal world becomes a reality. Not until you, Stalker or All Might, stop me. Because only a true hero will kill me. I will restore the word hero. For everyone, for better or worse, a change has happened." Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey today. I hope you enjoyed exploring the fascinating what-if scenario of Deku. The possibilities were truly mind-blowing. If you found this video entertaining and thought-provoking, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me and inspires me to bring you more captivating content in the future. Stay tuned for more exciting what-if stories and other amazing videos coming your way. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep embracing the power of imagination.